This is the Week 15 Fantasy Football Podcast, featuring Jonathan Keith and Tyler Harnish.
Week 15, listeners, it is Week 15.
Whoop, whoop.
Come on now. We started this podcast in May, and we were talking about this week right here. We were talking about these matchups a week on our second episode. When the schedule was released, we took an initial look at what Week 15 would look like, and we've talked about it ever since. The fantasy football playoffs are here. You're in them because you've been listening to Week 15 podcast. Tyler, you're in 9 leagues. How many of them are you locked into the playoffs?
I need help in 1 league, and I am locked in 7.
Nice.
So I'm probably going to miss the playoffs in 2 leagues.
Hey, same here. I'm in 5 leagues. I missed in 2 different leagues. Frustrating injuries. No excuses, though. Shame on me. I should have known. I'm locked into 2 where I'm leading in scoring in one of those leagues and second in scoring in the other. And then I've got my 5th league. If I win this week, which I very well might, then I'm in. But it's a close one. But no, it's been a fun year despite all the injuries. I mean, think about the injuries this year.
It's been wide.
Quarterback-wise, I mean, goodness. I was looking at sometime in June or July, we had an episode where we talked about our top 5 quarterbacks for the playoffs based on the schedule. And I had Joe Burrow, Aaron Rodgers, and Kirk Cousins on that list. All who were knocked out for the season.
I remember talking about Brock Purdy that day.
Yeah, we did. Well, and then it was like Brock Purdy or Trey Lance. Most likely Brock Purdy, but Trey Lance. I remember having that conversation. There's a TikTok out there with us talking about him.
Here we are.
I believe you had Dak at number 1 on that list. Look at you go, dog.
I mean,
look at you.
This is what I do.
Look at you. But no, the playoffs, they're set as you're listening to this. Actually, we're recording here on Monday. So in our listener leagues, there's some dicey things that could go down on Monday night.
We all know how tight those are.
Yep. I would say at this point, Team Goat is in League 1. And it's congratulations. The most competitive league I've ever seen in all my years of fantasy football. I can't even believe how close it is. We're going to have a 500 team not make it, which is wild.
And we talked about that last week.
Yeah.
It's sad. Hope it's not Caleb.
Yeah. It's going to be, let's see, in League 1, it's going to be down between, I had it pulled up. There it is. Team Goat is in. It's going to be between Now You CD, Portland Padawans, and Kirk O'Chains. Only 2 of those 3 teams are going to get in. One of those teams is going to end up 500 and not get in. 2 of those teams, actually all 3 of them could end up 500. Then it's going to come down to points scored, which it is tight because Otis and Justin are 7 points apart.
Wow.
So this week could play out. Depends on how tonight goes. Crazy stuff in League 1. Extremely close. Then when we look at League 2, I believe the playoffs are all but set there. Fowabala, you're in. Ray, attaboy.
Let's go, Ray.
I don't think it's officially listed at this point, but doing the math, you're in. And then it's going to be between Kaboom and Gabriel Arison. So Derek Purty and Gabriel Arison fighting for that last spot of the playoffs. But, man, it's been a crazy league. I'm out in this league. This is the one where I had, like, an all-star team on the IR. My IR legendary roster.
You should have been listening to those waiver wire episodes, Johnny.
Dude, my whole team was waiver wires. It was like I had like 4 guys on the IR.
All right, Tyler, who you got for me this
week?
week?
I was going to say, you'd be down there and be like, I need 3 more wide receivers.
We got a good show today, though, man.
Oh, dude, I've been hyped about this. Ever since last week when I realized, like, dude, it's Week 15. Playoffs are here, man.
I put in some work on this one.
Dude, I did too. You can see I got 2 pages of notes instead of the usual 1.
We're kind of taking a little bit of risk for you guys, as far as, for us.
Yeah.
I've given you some
We're
names.
giving you some ammunition this week against us, which has bit us in the past. But that's what we're here to do for this podcast.
I've got some big names that I'm like, man, I don't know.
Yeah.
So it's kind of risky.
There's a lot of guys that we're going to talk about my love-hate list. But what we just, the last 2 months, really, we've zeroed in on certain stats. Offensive stats, defensive stats, passing, rushing. We've zeroed in and given you heads up on some of those matchups.
That is for this week.
Yes.
This is why we did that.
Exactly. And so what we're really going to do this week is we're going to deep dive into each matchup everybody's playing this week. There are 16 games. Tyler and I split the list in half, and we did a deep dive into each matchup. First of all, I want to remind you guys that there are games on Saturday.
3 of them.
3 of them. So if you're thinking, oh, I made it through Thursday night, I'll just do my roster on Sunday morning, don't do that. There's games on Saturday. Be aware of that. But yeah, deep dive into each of these matchups. So we're going to go through them here in a second. Dude, I'm so hyped. I almost skipped our wins.
We can't skip the wins.
We can't skip the wins. I'll let you go first, talking about a win.
Yeah, this is finals week at school. So we have a full week of school, but man, the focus is less on learning this week and more on just getting to Friday.
Yeah.
And by the time you guys are listening to this episode, I will be in class, but I will only have 2 more full days to go, and then I am on Christmas break. And it's just one of the greatest joys of teaching. It's one of the things that drew me in.
Christmas break?
No, just the breaks in general. You know?
Yeah.
And I get to be home with the whole family. We're all on pretty much the same schedule, and it's a big win to know that I just knock out this week and I've got 3 weeks off.
Dude, yeah, I hear you. My win this past week, about a week ago, was my mom's birthday on December 7th.
Happy birthday, Tammy.
Big 27. She hit this time.
Don't believe you. She's a saint.
No, my mom, Hall of Famer. Mom, I love you. If you're listening to this, I'm sure you are, because you've always supported me in literally everything I've ever done, so I can't thank you enough. It was awesome getting together, eating pizza with everybody. My boys were entertaining and singing Grinch songs and all that good stuff. But, Mom, we love you. You mean everything to us, so just want to give you a happy birthday shout-out. It was a win hanging out with you on your birthday. So, yeah, it was a good win leading into the weekend. Had a great weekend, restful weekend. And now we're ready to climb down the stretch here. For me, I have more than just a week. You're done Friday. I'm done next Thursday. So I got 8 days as we're recording this, but here we are. Are you a fan of unique handcrafted treasures? Look no further than our own woodworking and collectibles business. At the studio at Benchtop Designs, we specialize in creating exquisite woodworking pieces and have collectibles that will captivate your imagination. Each item is meticulously crafted with passion and attention to detail, making them truly one of a kind. From stunning wooden furniture to custom-made pieces, our collection showcases the beauty of available materials and the artistry through craftsmanship. Whether you're looking to add a touch of elegance to your home or searching for the perfect gift, our woodworking and collectibles are sure to impress. Visit our website at www.benchtopdesigns.studio. Be sure to check us out on Instagram at the studio at Benchtop Designs, or go to our website www.benchtopdesigns.studio. Okay, are we ready to dive into these matchups? Because there's so many good games. There's so many good games coming this weekend. So many matchups that I was kind of surprised that I hated in terms of like offensive production. And as we're looking at fantasy production through these playoff weeks, you need to recognize that on a year, it's been less points scored than normal. I feel like.
No, it has for sure.
For sure. I don't have like the numbers for the previous years, but
scoring is down.
Scoring is significantly down. As I look at some of these team averages, I'm just like, sheesh, man. Like I can't even believe some of the how many teams are scoring less than 21 points a game. Crazy to me. But Tyler, I know you got the Thursday night game. I'm going to let him do the Thursday night game, and then we're going to go back and forth on matchups. We're not necessarily going to go in order of when the game is being played. But, yeah, it's I was kind of shocked as I was going through this, and I was trying to think back what we talked about in the summer as far as Week 15 goes. But, yeah, there's some really clear-cut great matchups. There's some really clear-cut terrible matchups. I'm ready to get into it. So, Tyler, whenever you're ready for the Thursday night game, go for it.
Yeah, I mean, the Thursday night game is the Chargers and the Raiders. And if you watch the Chargers, man, they look lost right now.
Dude, and then Justin Herbert gets hurt.
Yeah, I mean, he broke his finger.
Yeah, I mean, he's
on his throwing hand.
Not good. Super not good.
So, I mean, Johnny, what's the backup quarterback?
Easton Stick.
Easton Stick, yes. So, I mean, he did feed Keenan Allen the ball when he got in.
So, I'll say this real quick. Before the season started on brothersandcards.com, I wrote an article about the quarterbacks to watch during preseason. Easton Stick came into the league, I want to say in like 2017, 2016 maybe 2018, I can't remember. It's been a minute. but he has stayed with the Chargers. In fact, at one point he got cut and they brought him back, which like doesn't happen very often. And they've kept him around, and he has been every offseason, according to their coaching staff, gotten a lot better. This past spring, when he started doing like the different drills with the team or whatever, they noticed a remarkable change in him. When they were in camp, obviously Justin Herbert's your guy.
Yeah.
But they kind of raved about Easton Stick in camp. So I was ready to see how he did in preseason. He wasn't like an all-star in preseason, but he had one of his 3 games where I was like, okay, like he's an NFL quarterback. So for him to get the shot at this stage, I mean, their playoff hopes dwindling
very quickly.
Yeah, but I mean, the fact that he's going to get a real shot right now, like if Herbert can't go, I mean, like Easton Stick, dude, I'm interested to see what he can do.
Do you want to know who else was on that list for you, Johnny, I believe?
Who's that?
Aiden O'Connell.
Yep, for the Raiders.
So
yep.
we have that matchup this week on Thursday night. And so this game really boils down to neither defense is great. So you are firing up your horses. So you're going to play Ekeler. You're going to play Keenan Allen.
Yep.
You're going to play Josh Jacobs on the other side, and then Devontae Adams.
Yeah, I like the tight ends in both games too. I mean, I'm not saying every single game has been proof in the pudding there, but these unsure quarterbacks, these young, or I mean, Easton Stick might not be young, but he's inexperienced.
Yeah.
When they need third and 2, and they have to sacrifice a human, they're going to pick the biggest one.
Gerald Everett and
yeah.
Michael Mayer. You know, those might be guys that you're looking to this week because that's what the quarterbacks want to throw to, like you've talked about. So I think for this matchup, keep it simple. Ekeler,
the guys you know are going to produce, the guys that usually produce.
Yep.
Yeah,
that's pretty much it for this game. I will say Thursday night games, the defense is usually at more of a disadvantage. So I mean, this could be a high scoring game with 2 rough defenses.
Well, again, Chargers and Raiders. Last time they played, Khalil Mack broke the sack record.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying in regards to that is that was with Josh McDaniels doing nothing to help his quarterback. Aiden O'Connell's not a dumb human.
No.
That ball's getting out quick. It's going to be quick routes, quick throws, quick plays. He's not going to get sacked as many times as he did last time. So I look for high-volume receptions for Devontae Adams and Jacoby Myers as well.
He's been doing pretty well.
Screen game kind of stuff. Like I don't think you're going to see as many dropbacks. He's not going to be taking 48 sacks in a single game.
With that being said, the Raiders did get shut out this week against the Minnesota Vikings.
True.
O'Connell was 21 of 32 for 171 and no touchdowns. Jacobs rushed the ball 13 times for 34 yards. Minnesota, decent defense, but Adams did turn in a pretty good game for you, so just ride the horses in this game.
Yeah.
Don't think too much. Play the guys that have gotten you there.
That's fair. All right, my first matchup that I want to talk about is something that we mentioned back in May, June, as soon as we found out what the schedule was, and that's Kansas City at New England. Now, New England in December is always kind of a crapshoot in terms of weather, and that's Bill Belichick going against anybody great. Like, there's going to be schemes. New England's defense has actually been playing pretty well. They've allowed less than 13 points per game. I think it was in the last 5 games, which is that's impressive.
Yeah.
I mean, and the Chiefs, they've only been averaging 21 points a game.
They look bad.
They can't catch the ball.
They look bad.
They can't catch. I mean, it infuriates me. You have the best quarterback in the league, in my opinion, and you're watching these passes get dropped. And Tony Romo said it too. He was like, he has to throw a perfect dot for it to be caught.
I don't know if he watched that game last night, but he did miss some throws himself.
Did he? I didn't get to watch the whole thing, but I saw more than one drop.
But when you're thinking in your head, this has to be a perfect ball.
Oh, dude, yeah, that's a problem.
Yeah,
and I think it was either 2 weeks ago, or maybe it was last week. They hit 26 drops on the year. That's a problem.
Yeah,
that's unbelievable.
Most in the league.
That's unbelievable. But in general, when we were looking at these games way back when, we were thinking, okay, you have Mahomes, but he's going against Belichick, and then weather is potential hazard in December in New England. And that's really all we had to go on. Well, now here we are. It's more of the offensive production from KC and the defensive play from New England where I'm like, okay, this makes me not like the Chiefs. I for sure freaking hate the Patriots this week.
Yeah.
The Patriots are, and these stats are going into Week 14. So they've actually bumped it up a little bit. But they were averaging 13 points a game coming into this week. They scored 21 against Pittsburgh, which shocked me. But still, it's pretty close to 13 points a game, which is horrendous. That puts them 31st in the league. And meanwhile, KC is third in points allowed. They're doing a really great job over there on defense. Patrick Mahomes said the best defense he's ever had. So I absolutely hate all Patriots going against Kansas City. I'm not in love with any Chiefs. So it's
this game could be a stinker.
Yeah, it really could be. I could see like a 21-3 win for Kansas City. You know, I don't see it to be an exciting game to watch. Which stinks.
What are you doing with Zeke? For those that picked him up with my advice, 22 carries, 68 yards, also caught 7 balls for 72 yards in a tutty.
I mean, I think he's
flex-worthy?
Flex-worthy.
Okay.
I mean, that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
Like if he's a running back 3 and your wide receiver 3, I mean, it's a toss-up.
I mean, he
got
got every single carry for that team.
Yeah, crazy. Yeah. I mean, I have a hard time not playing him.
So you throw him in your flex?
Yeah, if depending on what my flex options are, yeah. I think he's a real flex option.
Is he a running back 2? 13 through 24 for you?
Man.
I mean, he was top 10 this week.
Yeah. But
against the Steelers.
The Steelers have a good defense. I would have never predicted that.
I'm just putting you on the spot here, I know.
Yeah,
but
I don't know. I mean,
I told people go pick up Zeke.
Could he be 11 through 13 maybe?
Could he be 13 through 24? Because that's RB2. That's your RB2.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
He's getting all of the work. I don't know how you don't play
I would
him.
be bummed if I don't have 2 running backs better than Zeke right now, but yeah. I mean,
it's hard to find a running back in this league where
Sure.
they get all the work.
Yeah.
22 carries, 7 receptions.
Yeah, crazy. All right, what's your next matchup?
All right, my next matchup is the Minnesota Vikings at the Cincinnati Bengals. Weather not looking to be a factor, but we are outdoors in December in the Midwest. So, obviously, you've got the Burrow injury. Jake Browning did briefly exit the game. He had cramps in his hand. He came back and played okay. The Vikings are number 6 against the run in terms of yards. That is my favorite stat, as you have all known by now. Middle of the pack against the pass, so you might temper your expectations for Mixon this week. This Vikings team, like I said earlier, just shut down Jacobs. So you might temper your expectations for Mixon this week. Probably going to play him, but you're definitely going to fire up Chase and Higgins.
Yeah.
Browning looks
serviceable.
he looks good.
Yeah, I mean,
he looks good.
I've been so impressed. I mean, they put up 30 more than once with him, right?
Yeah.
The Vikings also, we mentioned a couple weekends ago, or maybe it was last week, they're like bottom 5 in completions given up. Like they give up like 3rd most completions in the NFL or something like that.
So I mean, they're good against the run, and they give up yards through the air. As far as the Vikings go, man, Justin Jefferson injured again.
Dude, unbelievable.
They're calling it day to day. I actually got that notification while I was on my way here. He's going to be playing through pain.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
it's like his first catch took a massive shot.
I don't know what to tell the listeners to do because you probably don't sit him. They don't know who's playing
I mean,
quarterback.
For me, I've got Justin Jefferson in one of my leagues, and I'm not in the playoffs.
Yeah.
He's my number 1 draft pick.
Yeah.
You know, he's only played 5 games this year.
I mean, they don't know who's playing quarterback right now.
Yeah.
Mullins looked okay.
Yeah.
Dobbs played for the majority of it. So,
It's
I mean, you're probably playing Jefferson if he plays, but you're not going to feel great about it.
Nope.
Bengals are really good against the run. And Madison and Chandler are just – they don't look good. Madison carried the ball 10 times for 66 yards this past week.
That's one of his better games,
yeah.
honestly.
I mean, they're splitting the work
in
a bad matchup here. So, as far as the Vikings go, I'm probably going Hawkinson, and that is it.
Yeah, I'm with you.
I don't feel good about sending Jefferson out there hurt.
Nope.
With
I mean, obviously,
concerns.
you might not have any better option because he's my first round pick, just like he's every league's. But
maybe throw him into flex.
Yeah. All right, my next matchup is another just stinker. We're starting off with just stinkers here.
Stay with us.
We
the
got
good ones are coming.
The Giants at the Saints. I hate the Giants. They've put up the least amount of points in the league. They're going against New Orleans, who's 3rd in completions allowed. So, like, even PPR receivers aren't going to do much for you for the Giants. Like they lock it down on defense. I don't love the Saints. Quarterback's still questionable. I mean, Derek Carr's probably going to play. He's dinged up. But the Giants are 4th in touchdowns allowed. Like, they have a pretty good – their pass defense isn't horrible. And, yeah, I'm just Derek Carr. I've been a Derek Carr defender for so long, and he's slipping. He's slipping, dude.
He looked old.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'm not really excited about anything in that game. I can't imagine viewership's going to be very high on that one. You might play Saints defense. If you got Saints defense, that's an absolutely guaranteed couple points there.
They scored 28 points this past week.
Yeah, defensive touchdown, yeah.
Against the Panthers. I mean, what are you doing with 𝒊𝒔𝒊𝒏𝒈, Johnny?
I mean, if he's on my roster, I'm playing him just because of PPR leagues. But like, I'm not locked into him scoring touchdowns.
Kamara, he's looked pretty good this year.
Yeah, I mean, especially lately. But again, like if it's like, okay, let's take away Kamara and make Carr beat us. That's what teams are trying to do. I mean, that's what Carolina tried to do last week. We'll talk about that here in a second. This podcast is a So.Will.I.Studos production. So.Will.I.Studos is a podcasting brand founded by my wife and I. We plan on launching multiple podcasts this year, each with the intention of promoting positivity and critical thinking. This brand will cover over each podcast. We will have one YouTube channel, So.Will.I.Studos. There will also be one Instagram account that links to all of the others. Follow us on Instagram at so.will.i.studios. We are so excited for this new journey. We can't wait to share with you. Go ahead and give me your next one.
My next one is Pittsburgh at Indy. Irsay likes to have the roof open, so it might be open, but weather won't be an issue because if it does get bad, they will just close it. Kenny Pickett going to miss another game, so we're stuck with Mitchell Trubisky
going against Gardner Minshew, just like we knew it would be.
The Steelers are stout against the run. Zach Moss did not look great this week.
No.
Did not look great.
No.
But he did pretty much get all the work. You probably picked him up a long time ago.
Yeah,
hopefully you held on to him. And then this recent news with JT getting hurt, you probably still got him. But they're good against the run, so I don't really know what to tell you.
Their defense is good in general.
Yeah.
So I'm not in love with any Colts.
And then you're probably not playing Minshew, but Michael Pittman, dude.
They're designing plays, right? We've talked about that in the past.
He's established himself
They're
as an
designing
alpha
plays
receiver.
to get him the ball.
11 targets this past week, 95 yards. He also picked up a 2-point conversion.
Yep. On a design play, clearly designed to go to him. Yeah.
Steelers secondary, they're middle of the road, so Pittman is a must start for me. And I do have a little bit of bias because he's like my guy. Like I've got him in my favorite league, so I might be a little biased. But 11 targets last week, 95 yards. Like the week before, he had a touchdown over 100 yards. Like he's just establishing himself.
Yeah, they're doing a good job getting him the ball.
The running back situation in Pittsburgh is super frustrating.
Yeah,
I know you're a Najee owner. Warren and
he's been on my bench for weeks.
Najee, they're continuing to split the work, and they had an absolute stinker against the Pats, which was to be expected. Yards can be had against the Colts on the ground, but it could very easily be either guy. Trubisky will be under center, like I said. Deontay Johnson.
Good. It's also a must-win game for the Colts to get in the playoffs. I mean, it is for Steelers too,
Yeah.
but I mean, I think the Colts have the upper hand at home.
Deontay Johnson, Pat Freiermuth both had 7 targets last week. Pickens was 6. I would start Freiermuth if I had him at tight end. That's a lot of targets, but I don't know how you play Johnson or Pickens with any sort of confidence with Trubisky throwing the ball. He's just not trustworthy. He never has been.
Johnson will be on my bench.
That's all I got for that one.
All right, next game I got is Atlanta at Carolina. We got to be careful about this one because I know we look at it and we say Carolina is the worst team in the league, and that the Falcons have been doing some okay things. They also
dropped the ball this week
for sure, but it was a fun game to watch, man.
Yeah, well,
wow,
good.
Fun game to watch. They played in week 1 actually, and Atlanta beat Carolina. I think it was like 24-10. In that game, both running backs averaged 5+. I think one had 5, Tyler Algier and Bijan Robinson. One averaged 5, one averaged 5.6 yards per carry in week 1. In that game, Ritter was 15 of 18. London had 0 catches in week 1, if you remember that. He was one of our first zeros.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
lots changed, though.
Oh, dude,
Did
so
you see
much
that
changed.
game London put up this week?
Jeez, yeah.
10 for 172.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we're going to talk about that.
Sorry,
because
keep hogging your segment.
No, you're good. This game, when I first looked at the matchup, I was like, oh, my gosh, Drake London to the moon, right? Then it's like, oh, crap. I mean, they had 0 catches. He had 0 catches in week 1. Like, they also had something set up to stop him. And then I'm like, okay, Ritter was 15 for 18 with 9 completions to a running back. Carolina is going to be trying to stop the running backs for receivers, right? Like make Desmond Ridder throw down the field. Are they successful at that? Well, this last week when they played against the Saints, Carolina only allowed 3 catches to Alvin Kamara for negative 11 yards.
Oof.
So they've obviously gotten better at stopping the running backs from getting catches. They're going to implement that because Desmond Ridder doesn't throw down the field well. Drake London has to make acrobatic catches for him to be able to have success throwing down the field. I don't like it at all. What does it look like to get Ridder to throw 40 passes? Well, we saw that last week. 11 of them went to London. Only 6 other passes went to wide receivers. So he threw almost more than half of his passes were to running backs or tight ends. Take away the checkdowns, which the Panthers have proven that they can do. I'm not convinced this is going to be. I don't think it's going to be a blowout. I think it's going to be a very low scoring game.
J.C. Horn is a real corner.
Yeah,
like,
I know
real.
He was like a healthy scratch a couple weeks ago. Is he back now?
No, he played this week.
Okay, yeah. So I think he just got in some trouble mouthing off the coaches or something. I think is what it was. But yeah, I think Atlanta's going to run the ball a lot. What's that? What do you got?
Who's the Panthers coach?
Oh yeah, I don't even know, dude. I don't even know.
I don't know the guy's name
because it was Frank Reich and then they fired him. I don't even know. But, yeah, again, low-scoring game is my prediction with Atlanta and Carolina, and that probably means they're going to score like 50 each.
I have Bijan,
but yeah,
it makes me sad that you think that.
I do think that strongly.
All right, my next game, Denver at Detroit. Weather not an issue at Ford Field. The Eagles' secondary without C.J. Gardner-Johnson is struggled. The Lions are coming off a shocking loss to my Bears.
Yeah, yeah.
With that being said, they have looked very, very good following losses this year. But they are going up against a red-hot Broncos team. I really think that this game is going to be a real treat for us on Saturday. The Lions are top third in the league against the run. But Javonte Williams has looked good, and he's getting the majority of the work. So he probably is going to be locked in your lineup in that RB2 spot.
He got a touchdown last week.
He did. They are 20th against the pass, so I think Cortland Sutton is definitely in play this week. Did you know he's scored 10 touchdowns this year?
That's wild to me. I mean, I feel like every time they'll score 1 touchdown, it was Cortland Sutton.
He doesn't rack up a lot of yards or catches, but he scored 10 times. That's as many times as Tyreek Hill.
Wow.
So
wow.
I definitely think that Sutton is going to be a lock. As far as the Lions go, I mean, we've been talking about this matchup since week 5. So Gibbs, Montgomery, St. Brown, Goff, you're starting all these guys with confidence.
Yeah.
I really think this game is going to be a treat.
Yeah, I like it too. All right, my next matchup is Washington at the Rams, and I mentioned this one probably the last 6 episodes in a row. I love all of the Rams. Washington was dead last in the league in passing touchdowns given up, in points allowed, and in passing yards. Dead last. They're going against a Rams team that is healthy for the first time in all year. I guess
lost
they were
a heartbreaker.
They were healthy last week, and they did some great things. Tyler Higbee's still hurt, but Davis Allen, rookie tight end, comes in. I'm sure he's going to be on your waiver wire. I mean, he's 4 catches for 50 yards and a touchdown, but he looked good. He had 1 bad drop, but everything else looked really good. Like I said, they're dead last in points allowed, dead last in passing touchdown, dead last in passing yards. The Rams have scored 30 points in the last 3 games. I love every Ram. Every offensive player for the Rams I love right now going into this week. So if you're trying to find somebody, see who they got available. I love them all. As far as Washington goes, they're coming in after a bye. They're healthy. They don't really have any big injuries. All their receivers are in the mix. They've got some sparks that they have on offense. The Rams defense is average. We'll kind of see how it goes.
Brian Robinson healthy?
Yeah, I think so. He wasn't on the injury report.
Okay, good.
I saw.
My next game, Chicago at Cleveland. There's a theme to my weather reports here. It doesn't seem to be an issue at this point, but we are talking about the Midwest in December, so
changes every month or every week, every day.
Just hold your breath.
Yeah.
There's no major injury concerns in this game. It seems pretty easy to me. You're looking at Cooper for the Browns and Njoku for the Browns. I mean, you don't really want to play Jerome Ford against that Bears defense that I talked about. They just stop the run, man.
Yeah.
They've very sneaky built a good defense in Chicago. So you're looking at Njoku, who played his butt off this past weekend. He was number 5 this week for PPR top scorers from the tight end position. Cooper had a great game, 7 catches, over 70 yards. They've announced Flacco is going to be the starter, so that's good. And for the Bears, man, you're looking at DJ Moore and Justin Fields, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
I mean, Fields looked really good this past week. In Cleveland, we've talked about their defense. They're great, but, I mean, Justin Fields wants to throw the ball to DJ Moore. They're designing touches for him. He scored on a rush this past weekend, so they're designing touches for him. So, that's you got 4 guys in this game, in my opinion. Everybody else, I don't really want to play.
Yeah. My next matchup is going to be the 49ers at the Cardinals. I mean, I like the 49ers. Obviously, I think they're great. I think this game is going to be a blowout, though, and I'm worried about substitutions. I like their backup running backs for the 49ers. Arizona is 28th in the league in giving up rushing touchdowns. They got, Mitchell and Mason. Mason scored a touchdown this week. He seemed to be RB2, but it's hard to tell. One week it's Elijah Mitchell. The next week it's Jordan Mason. You never really know who's RB2.
Did you see that touchdown that Mason had?
Yeah.
McCaffrey pops off 72 yards. They
comes
take him
out and goes right in.
Oh, my gosh. I'm so sorry, McCaffrey owners. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, it's funny, too, because in this game, you shouldn't touch a Cardinal. James Conner, maybe. Maybe. Because, San Francisco's number 1 in points allowed. Arizona's number 25 in points scored, and that's because Josh Dobbs put up numbers before he left. I don't like any Cardinals.
No Kyler Murray.
No Kyler Murray. I'll have Kyler Murray on my bench. I don't like it. I think it's going to be a blowout. I'm worried about substitutions. The other thing about the 49ers is there's so many mouths to feed. I have George Kittle. I hope George Kittle scores, but they're going to score 4 touchdowns, and they have 17 players on their team that could score those touchdowns.
It was a Debo week this week.
Yeah,
did you see that?
Dude, that bomb, Brock Purdy, dude, I love him. I love him.
34 fantasy points this past weekend.
Yeah.
Crazy. My next game, Tampa Bay at Green Bay. December in Green Bay, beware.
Yeah.
Looks clear, but there is precipitation in the forecast on Friday. We do have Christian Watson. He has already been ruled out for tonight with a hamstring. So hamstrings are tricky. I could see him potentially missing another game. And then Aaron Jones is questionable for Monday night, but I did see a report where he is unlikely to play.
Really?
So they're going to be without Watson and Jones. So that is something to monitor throughout this week. This is a tough game to predict. Both teams have kind of been up and down this year. Green Bay is hot right now, but Tampa Bay does have a pretty good defense. Packers are bottom 3 in rush defense, but they're stingy against the pass. So that tells me this could be a Rachaad White game. Tampa Bay is great against the pass, but middle of the road against the run. I could see this game being an absolute shootout, or I could see it 14-10.
Yeah,
you just don't know. So my advice here is, again, play the horses for the Bucs. Rachaad White, Mike Evans, maybe Chris Godwin in a flex spot. He's kind of been feast or famine, but he did lead the team in targets this past week. Mike Evans kind of turned in a bad game, his first bad game all year pretty much. I will actually be starting Baker in one of my leagues because I've got Hammer Geno to choose from. It's one of those leagues where it's super deep and lots of keepers. He's been serviceable. He threw 2 tutties this week, also ran one in, so I think Baker's okay. Obviously, not going to tell you to throw him in if you've got somebody else, but I will be starting him. It's really tough. It's really tough for me, Johnny, to trust anybody for the Packers.
I'm with you. I feel the same.
They have 5 players who are in their first or second year in the league.
Yeah,
and it seems like at any week,
everyone's been hurt here and there. It's hard to get a good gauge on anybody.
If Watson plays, he's probably in your lineup. He's the most trustworthy out of any of them, but that's scary because he's down this week with a hamstring. And the risk of re-injury is very, very
I haven't been really impressed with Jordan Love, even on this stretch of wins here. There's been times where I'm like, he's had good drives, but then there's been drives where I'm just like, dude, he missed all 3 guys by a mile. It's just, he's been hot and cold even in games.
What he's doing with this receiving core of 5 guys.
Sure, I'm with you. I'm with you on that.
That's crazy to me. If those 6 guys can stay together, can you imagine what they're going to build? That's just crazy to me. If Aaron Jones misses another game, you're probably starting A.J. Dillon in your flex. That's pretty much it. I see a lot of people picking up Jordan Love, and I don't trust him.
Yeah.
I don't trust anybody.
I was down on him coming into the year. He made me a believer there for a while, but he's played. I think they had back-to-back prime games, right? They had 2 weeks in a row where they had primetime games, and I'm watching, and it's great drive, great throws, and then it's just dude, what happened?
I know
for a stretch there.
He has a great playoff run, though.
Yeah. That's true.
Fantasy playoff run.
Yeah.
He was on my top 5 list. I do remember.
Yeah. All right, so my next matchup is Dallas at Buffalo, and goodness, be careful. I'm saying be so careful here with the Cowboys because I think right now we look at them and we say these guys have won the last 5 games. They've scored an average of 40 points a game in the last 5 games, but some things you need to look at. We had a whole episode about crap pass defenses. All these teams are on that list. Philadelphia, they were bottom 5 in every category against the pass. Seattle was on that list. Washington, dead last in all passing stats. Carolina, the Giants actually have a decent passing game, but boy, Dallas whooped them. Something to consider. They're playing at Buffalo right now. No precipitation, but it's going to be 36 degrees or less. 4 out of the last 5 games that the Cowboys have played in have been in Texas.
They're great at home.
And then they played 1 game in Carolina. They have not played cold yet this year.
Can I give you a crazy Cowboy stat?
Let's hear it.
They have won 8 games this year by 20 or more points.
That's wild. That's a lot. In the NFL,
I don't care who you're playing
NFL,
to win by 20.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you.
The hangover's coming, right?
For sure. Well,
this was such a huge game against Philly.
Yeah.
Could you see them being like...
Dude, yeah. Well, see, like we talked about last week, Philly's defense, crap against the pass, Dak's on a roll. Like we talked about that being a big factor, and it was. I think Buffalo's pass defense is better. I think their defense overall is better. I think the cold, I really do. I know they're professional athletes and everything. I think the cold could be a factor in this game for Cowboys just because they haven't seen it, haven't faced it. Bills are hot and cold, man. You never know what they're going to do. So it's like, it's a crapshoot. I can see this game being a big win for Dallas. I could see this game being a fairly low-scoring game. Dallas defense is great, I think. I think they're going to handle what Buffalo has offensively. But yeah, I don't know. I'm optimistic for the Cowboys, but I'm very cautious as well.
I hope Dak plays well. All right, my final game, Houston at Tennessee. Again, weather looks good right now, but we are in the Midwest there with Nashville, Tennessee. Man, Johnny, the Texans are beat
awful.
Up.
Their whole receiving
they
core
are
gone.
Beat up. C.J. Stroud took a nasty hit.
He looked like he was in pain going in the locker room.
Banged his head on the ground. He's in concussion protocol. Nico Collins left the game with a calf injury. Dalton Schultz hasn't played in 2 weeks. Tank Dell on IR, man. It just does not look good for the Texans. And I feel really bad for them because the Jaguars lost. The Colts lost. That could have been a huge game for the Texans. So just with the Texans injuries, you just kind of got to wait and see. I mean, they are really, really careful with this concussion protocol ever since these head injuries have become a major thing. This is a decent matchup for Stroud and the pass catchers if they can make it on the field. But going into this week, if you have Texans on your roster, you just kind of got to wait and see.
Right.
I could see Nico gutting it out. Schultz should be primed to return. He's missed the last 2 weeks. So I can't really give you any advice on the Texans just because we don't know. There's a lot of question marks there. As far as Tennessee goes, I'm playing 2 guys, Derrick Henry, DeAndre Hopkins.
Yeah, that's it.
They're good. The Texans are good against the run, but we are talking about the Yeti in December, right?
Yeah.
But they give up a lot of air yards. So I mean, Hopkins. This could be a DeAndre Hopkins game. He might go off.
Yeah. I mean, he's always has that potential. My next game is I got the Ravens at Jacksonville, and let me tell you right now, I love every single Raven. I love them all, and I don't like the Jaguars. In my opinion, the Ravens have the best defense in the league. One of them, best defense in the league. Lamar is he's having a great season. I mean, stat-wise, he's got 16 passing touchdowns, 5 rushing touchdowns or something like that. Like, it's not MVP numbers, but he's having a good year. I think they're one of the front runners in the AFC, in my opinion. He's averaging 27 passes a game, and he's completing 67% of them. Odell has really come along. He's number 3 in targets after playing only like 7 games. He's got 3 touchdowns. Odell's only rostered in 50% of leagues.
He had a good game.
He had a good game. He's had a good stretch here. Zay Flowers and Mark Andrews, they're obvious starts.
Andrews is out.
Still.
Yes.
Okay.
Isaiah Likely, however, played phenomenal.
Good to know. Also, Keaton Mitchell, he's averaging 8.5 yards a carry. He has 2 touchdowns in 7 games. Crazy.
He's a stud.
Crazy. Gus Edwards leads the team with 10 touchdowns. J.K. Dobbins went down. Everybody's like, oh, crap, what are the Ravens going to do? Gus Edwards leads the team in 10 touchdowns. That's a lot of touchdowns, man. It's Tyreek Hill, like you said. Also, Jacksonville's defense is number 28th against passing touchdowns. So, yes, I love all the Ravens. Very concerned about the Jaguars. They seem to just be a mess every time I watch them play. You got guys talking about how they don't know what they're doing.
Lawrence is playing on a bad ankle.
Yeah, he's hurt. I don't like any Jaguars, and I love the Ravens.
All right. I do have one final game. I apologize. I have the Jets at Miami. There's a 70% chance of rain on Saturday in Miami.
Whoa.
So we got a rain game.
Wow.
Both teams coming in healthy. Zach Wilson.
He looked okay, man.
Dude, he looked pretty good.
I was going to say.
You're not going to feel great about starting any Jets.
Garrett Wilson, man, I like starting him. I mean, he's getting a lot of
But you don't feel great about
quantity
that against Miami.
Sure, yeah.
He did target Garrett Wilson 14 times this week. Breece Hall, he's kind of matchup proof because he runs the ball, catches the ball.
Right.
And those are probably the only two guys I'm starting, and that's probably
and then everybody from
Miami. The Miami defense has been sneaky good this year. 4th against the run, 7th against the pass. So if you have other options, you might look. But, man, after this week with both of those guys having good games, you're probably going to start them. But we are looking at bad weather, good defense, and we already don't like starting Jets.
Right.
The matchup for the Dolphins could not come at a worse time.
Right.
Could not come at a worse time. Jets, I mean, top 5 defense in the league. I don't think anybody's going to argue with me on that.
Rain advantage Jets.
Yeah, I mean, they have been lights out all year long. If you have success against the Jets, it is on the ground. So you can feel comfortable starting Achane or Mostert. But they do, I mean, they split the work. It's pretty much 50-50.
Both produce, but they split it.
And you're obviously starting Tyreek Hill. But what do we do with Waddle and Tua? Because it's tough.
Yeah.
We're looking at a top 5 defense in a game where it's going to rain. It's tough. I'm probably going to sit Jalen Waddle like I did this week, just given what the Jets do. I'm looking elsewhere. If I've got somebody that's equal to Tua, I'm not going to play Tua or Waddle if I have other options. Plain and simple.
Fair. My last game is Philly at Seattle, and I'm telling you right now, I expect a blowout in the Eagles' favor. I'm telling you right now. Yes, I do. I think the Eagles are about to get right. They just lost the number 1 seed. They lost the number 1 seed in the division. They've lost 2 in a row. They're one of the best teams in football. I still believe that.
They look rough right now.
They have looked rough, but I think Seattle is the game for them to be able to turn it all around. Seattle has allowed 33 points per game in the last 3 games. They're 25th against passing touchdowns. They're 29th against rushing touchdowns. The Eagles do a lot of things well. The Seahawks are struggling right now. I expect this to be a huge statement, get-right game from Philly. And I think they're going to do it with everyone. I think all the receivers are going to get touches. I think you're going to have the slew of running backs that you normally see. I like everybody for Philly. Seattle, I mean, depending on who we see, I mean, I think Drew Lock is capable. I think, there's a lot of a lot of potential with the receivers for Seattle. But
Metcalf, 2 good games in a row.
Yeah, I think Philly's going to blow it out. Fact, fun facts. Well, hey, this has been one of our longer episodes, and for good reason. We're excited about it. We're going to go ahead and do our fun facts real quick here. We're just going to roll right into it. My fun fact is that this weekend, my little brother's getting married, and I'm giving the best man speech, and I'm doing it in the same exact room that I gave my last wedding speech in at the Litzen Lodge. I'm pretty hyped about it.
Shout out to Josh. Long awaited. My fun fact, Johnny, we're pretty much best friends. I don't want to speak for you. You're my best friend.
Yeah, dude, absolutely. Yeah, man.
Our wives are obviously best friends.
Facts.
You just talked about weddings.
Yes.
We're both married.
Yes.
Neither one of us were in attendance.
Didn't even think
for
about
the
inviting you.
Other person's wedding.
College.
We were in college, and we were both doing our own thing on the football field, gridiron. We're best friends, and we were not at each other's wedding.
Truth.
I just had to throw that out there because
that is a funny fact.
You threw that out about Josh. So
yep.
Crazy. If I could go back, Johnny, you'd be standing right next to me.
Dude, absolutely. Bro. Absolutely. That's good stuff. That's funny. Every time we bring it up, I'm like, that's so weird. Oh, man, good stuff. All right, guys, thank you so much for listening. Week 15 is here. We hope that you guys go and get those W's as long as they're not against us. Good luck, guys.
This week, guys.
This podcast is a So.Will.I.Studos production. So will I.